All right, hello and welcome to the Potsy.ca Safety and Sports Podcast, brought to you by Endure Apparel, Atlas Brace, and Slabtown Cider. We'll start right off by introducing today's guest. We've got Adam Ruppel from Chico Racing. How's it going, Adam?
It's great. How are you doing, Tanner?
I'm doing good. I'm getting into the podcast game, so I'm figuring this out slowly and surely. Um, we're going to talk about a few things today. But let's start off with your background in cycling. You're an avid mountain biker, I know. Talk to me about how you got started in that and kind of what that looked like as a kid growing up.
Well, actually, I wanted to get into motocross
No
riding.
way.
Yeah, but it was like 1984, 83, and my dad brought me a Norco mountain bike, and it was right at the beginning of mountain biking. Like I was the first kid in uh, senior public school to have, basically in Uxbridge, to have a mountain bike. I had one of the first. It was like a Norco Bigfoot, and my dad had a Ritchie Ascent. And we went out mountain biking and discovered sort of Uxbridge. One of the first people kind of discovering Uxbridge as a mountain biker. I went. My other friend Sean Buckles, who lives, Brian Buckles' his father that lived south of town. I'd meet him at his house, ride down to his house, and then we'd ride around the Walker Woods, which was really just like old motocross trails.
Okay.
And then I started racing mountain bikes when I was basically, I think I was 12 years old. Started racing mountain bikes and eventually got pretty good at it and ended up representing Canada at the first World Mountain Bike Championships in 1990.
Wow, that's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah,
So you guys kind of pioneered mountain biking in the town of Uxbridge, and I know you and your brother Sean and your dad, you guys built a lot of those trails in there, right?
yeah. So it was actually myself and another fellow that built the first trail in Durham Forest, and it was actually Superfly Alley. You've probably ridden
Yep,
everybody's
I've
ridden
ridden
Superfly
Superfly.
Alley. And then Sean came in and helped build the next trails, and it was after our first event that we ran, and I was a fairly successful mountain bike racer on the provincial and national circuit at the time. So that would have been like early 90s, around 93. And I started organizing mountain bike events as well about that time. With
Yeah, for sure. You kind of had a passion for mountain biking. That's what made you want to get into organizing events, right? To keep it going and kind of make a career of it.
Actually, originally it was just a way to fund my racing. So I
Okay.
got a certain amount of funding from racing mountain bikes, but I was doing the national scene. So I was going to Canada Cup races. I won a Canada Cup. I finished fifth in the Canada Cup series. But I had a friend who was actually more of a pioneer in organizing mountain bike races, not building single track in the local, but he actually organized mountain bike races before me, Eric Gorschel, Iceman.
Yep,
So
Iceman. Yeah.
yep. So Iceman,
Yeah,
and
played hockey with Iceman quite a bit. So
so he had the Uxbridge icebreaker, and I thought, you know what, he's you know generating some revenue. I was working in the bike shop at the side, and I thought, you know what, I was doing business at school. I'll run a couple mountain bike events. Never came into it with the idea that this was going to be like a long term thing for me. It was more like, hey, this is what I'm doing right now, and we'll see, and we'll build it, and then and we'll see where it goes.
that's crazy. So looking back at it, thinking it's only going to be a short-term thing, and look at it now, right? So
Yeah.
what were the first events that you started running?
So actually, we started with some enduro mountain bike events, and I remember, I think some of the first events. I think the first event, I traded my bike. I gave my brother my old bike in exchange for him working for me, building these trails and building the first event.
So
So
you conned
I
him
think he
into
got a bike.
it.
Yeah. And then I know Sean went to Trent University. I was at Durham College, and we had a weekly series at Dagmar. We built a lot of the mountain bike trails, the original mountain bike trails at Dagmar. And then the first event that really kind of like went, oh, I can make some money at this and build it into a business was the 24-hour event. And we started that in 1998 at Ganaraska Forest. So I remember Sean and I going out because it was so full of poison ivy. We had to go out with Roundup, and we filled the Roundup in our Gatorade containers.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Just spraying it.
and then we dumped it in, and we sprayed it with backpacks, and we were just covered like in Roundup. We rinsed those before we fed people with it, the water.
So did you
But
guys build trails at Albion as well?
oh yeah, Albion actually interesting. I was running my 24-hour um, at Ganaraska for 2 years, and it was very successful. And a friend of mine, Dave, phoned me up and said, "Listen, I got a venue that's so much better than yours." And I'm like, "Really?" So we went over and we checked out Albion, and it had no single track, none, zero. But it had all this camping area, and I only rode it with my brother for an hour, and I made a deal with the TRCA. I said, "We need to build the single track, but we're going to move our 24-hour event here next year." Because I saw that they had most of the ingredients to make a great 24-hour event, which was they had the camping infrastructure, and they
Yeah.
had the double track, and they had the acreage and the terrain. And if we could just add the single track, then we had kind of the perfect mix. Much better than the previous venue that I was running at, which was fields, no real camping. And we had built the single track and double track there. So I saw Albion Hills and went, it just was like, this is a no-brainer.
For sure. And the event there is run so smoothly. Going from your first event to say not this year's event because it's a little different, but say your last
Right.
big year's event, what's the rider turnout from year one, the first few years to now?
So actually, we sold it out probably for 15 years straight. So
Okay.
we were always like, and I would say that there was a point where we didn't quite sell it out because we also ran another event for 9 years called the Hot August Nights.
Yes, I
So we
remember that
ran
one.
two events at our 24-hour venue, and we just changed up the course. But we had so much demand we couldn't meet it with one event. And then I started an obstacle running series called Mud Hero, and I decided to just run the 124-hour mountain bike event. And until 2018, it was a constant sellout. You know, obviously, COVID-19 has been devastating to our industry and to events. But we did get one event going off at about third the level, the size last year, and I'm expecting that next year is going to be full. Um, it's going to be sold out for the
Yeah,
24-hour
hopefully
June.
it seems like it's starting to go that way with
Yeah,
like all the events going on downtown, like concerts and hockey and
right.
whatnot. Yeah, definitely I was at the one this year and it was awesome to get back out and
Yep.
um definitely a
Vibe.
different feel to it, different vibe. Missing some of the live music, missing some of the
Yep.
kind of interacting with people. But that's all gonna come back in good time.
Yeah,
So
next year for sure. So we're
yeah,
doing that. We're bringing that all back June 25th, 26th, I think,
okay,
or
for sure.
26th, 27th. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't recommend that event enough. It's the 24-hour Summer Solstice. We've done it, my friends and I, on the Flow Society. We've done it, I think, the last close to 10 years, but I know there's
Right.
people that have been there since day one, and it's a blast and it's crazy. I had my buddy on for an episode last week, um, Jeff Corbett, and he was a OHL player, and we brought him out 1 year, and he couldn't do it. It's a gnarly event, you know. Um, Mountain bikers are a different breed. You need to be doing
For
it
sure.
a lot. So
Yeah, and really that mountain bike event on people of all ability levels as well. But it's about the fun of mountain biking, and it's really like a festival, more than I would call it a race, even though it is still a
yep.
race and people are racing each other and that sort of thing. And those pesto components that we were missing this past year because we ran what I would call a smaller version of it, but a tighter version of it. The smallest actually 24-hour event that I've ran since I think 2009 was even bigger than the event that we ran
Wow.
last year. So that was a small event, but it was important for us to just basically say we're going to continue on producing this event, and this is what we're going to do this year, just to keep that momentum going, because so many other event promoters had sort of thrown in the towel on both years for 2000 and 2001 in the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I was wondering, with the 2020 event, how far did you get into planning it, or did you get into planning it before you had to pull the plug? And what was that like
Yeah,
for you?
it was shit.
Yeah.
Because as well, and I'm going to give you this like perfect storm. I had sold the Mud Hero obstacle running business, and I was starting a new drive festival automotive business for
Yeah, we could
running an
talk about
automotive
that a bit
event.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the 24-hour event. So the 24-hour event was kind of my only income that was guaranteed for the year. And once you're running a company that's been going for 25 years, you build it in that, okay, I've got this is my revenue, this is what I sell. I pre-sold everybody on it for that year, but I need that revenue to continue
Mm-hmm.
paying, even though it was a moderate amount of overhead, it was some of my salary and then paying some vehicle and marketing costs. All of a sudden that disappeared. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it wouldn't have been as devastating if I hadn't already like invested so heavily in another company that was also supposed to launch in 2020 that was shut down. So, from a financial standpoint, now there are event promoters that were in much worse situations than me, but it wasn't. Let's just say it wasn't a good situation 2020 financially. Thankfully, some government funding came in and a few things, but it's a shit show, and it's
Yeah,
still going
that's
to take a while to pull back from it.
yeah, that's really tough. I feel for you with
Yeah,
that. I know a lot of people are really heavily impacted, and with the industry that you're in, it's dependent
yeah.
on those things to happen. Yeah, and I'm sure you didn't make up for it this year with having a
No,
smaller
no, no, no.
run in, right? So
But you know what? Psychologically, just being able to put our foot forward by getting that event going again, and I had a very successful drive festival for our first year, getting that going again as well. Um, and I think that you're going to find that there's lots of people. There's the flip side. Some people have made tons of money with COVID and done very well with their businesses, construction companies, and certain companies have.
doing podcast, Jen.
Say
Sorry.
hi to Jen.
That's my wife. She forgot I was doing this.
Oh, is your wife Jen?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's Jen too.
Oh, right on.
Not
There
the
we
same
go.
Jen, but different Jen.
Yeah, not the
Yeah, we're not that kind of. But anyways, so it was a challenge getting through it, but I've also had some. I have some acquaintances that are also in business, and their businesses, like for instance, one of my friends is a catering company. He does all the airline and train food.
Oh my gosh.
So, and his overhead is just so high. Like it's just so challenging for. And I've got a number of other people, in the gym industry or movie theaters. I know a number of people in those industries that have been just hit, and event industries as well, like just devastated. So I'm lucky that I'll be able to pull through on this. I've got a supportive wife, and I've done okay in the past, so we'll be able to pull through. But it's a bloody challenge out there. It's a
For sure.
bloodbath. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you've been able to keep your head above the water, which is
Yep.
um yeah, I mean, crazy times. It's affected everyone in a lot of different ways. We talked about people's mental health on the last episode. I was just that's been tough. So talk about struggling with your business and adding that kind of stress to it. I'm sure it
Right.
can make for some challenges. But hopefully brighter times ahead. It's kind of looking that way. We'll see. Got to get everyone vaccinated and you know keep that going.
Yeah. I mean, I think no doubt it's always better times ahead. Now, whether you're looking at 2021, it was better, but it was also it wasn't perfect. Is 2022 going to be perfect? Maybe, maybe not. But it's going to be better than 2021. And as long as we keep this sort of, foot in front of the other, and as well, like with the pandemic, with Dry Festival, as well as the 24 Hours of Summer Solstice, the mountain bike event. So I had the mountain bike event. I had to push it to the end of August, and I had to produce an event with 17,000 attendees 2 weeks later. That was my first event. So it was actually the most stressful time of my life. But
Yes.
we also didn't have to check vaccine passports and go through that challenge, which I know is going to, whether we're going to have to do that next year, we don't know. I know Doug Ford's aiming for end of March, pulling the, opening everything up, but who knows? We don't know where we're going to go with that.
Yeah, it's a very fluid situation. With it being an outdoor event, you'd hope that it doesn't have to get to, that would just make the process and make it so much more challenging,
Yeah, and I've already had people from the U.S. that were supposed to do my event next year ask for refunds, and I gave them like whatever our refund policy was. I've refunded them. I'm not getting involved in the political realm of, obvious. Like I'll say from my standpoint, I've been double vaxxed, but I'm not getting involved in don't that whole thing, because I did initially on a social media post, and then I was like, I kind of regretted it. It's like you're just going down this rabbit hole there's no way.
Oh, it's hard these days. I've found myself going through the comments in Facebook and going down a rabbit hole, and yeah, just best to keep to yourself for now and weather the storm, I guess, right? So
yeah, and I've got friends who are friends on either end of the spectrum. I'm somewhere in the middle. I would probably put myself I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to all sides, but I'm somewhere in the middle. But I've got friends on either end of the spectrum, and they're still my friends. So
yeah, at the end of the day, if you can, political beliefs, whatever it be, try to put your differences aside and just be people, right? That's the goal.
Yeah, let's try to be nicer to each other, and I don't know if that's always been the case with COVID-19, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You've seen a lot of stuff happen this year that kind of makes you shake your head, but
on both sides, like on the spectrum, on either side, like heavy, right? So
100%. Yeah, there's extremists on either end. It doesn't really matter what you stand for. There's people are crazy, right? So talking about trail building, and so out of all the places you've ridden your mountain bike and built trails, what would you say is your favorite place to ride, or favorite couple of places to ride?
So actually, funny enough, I probably don't ride enough in a lot of other places because we're so gifted with between having like Walker, Durham, and Three Rocks. I actually probably ride. This past year, I've ridden a little more on the road than I have in the mountain bike. So I'll probably ride a mountain bike twice a week. Probably rode 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So we're blessed for both kind of riding up here. And also within Uxbridge, we now have the Uxbridge Town Trails that are even a little bit closer. So that mostly Uxbridge people know about. So we're so blessed with trails that I don't find myself, traveling to do mountain biking necessarily. I think I've been to Moab for a week-long trip with friends a couple times, and I'll go for trips mountain biking, and that's amazing. But I still think we're super blessed right here in Uxbridge to have, all that access to trails that we have.
I would agree with that 100%. Growing up here, well, you were on a whole nother level where you built the trails and enjoyed it that way. But my friends and I got to enjoy all your hard work and all the hard work that the DMBA does for the trails there.
Huge. Yeah, the DMBA really took off from what we initially did and did a much bigger job with it, with more like impact to the trails. Like Sean and I and Iceman, we started the initial stuff, but I have to give like big kudos to like Dimba for really like organizing and putting the trails up to another level. You know, we were in the days of rake and ride and blowing the trails and that sort of. So they're definitely like many levels up from what we initially put together.
For sure. And yeah, I think the biggest thing would probably be their identification and mapping, right? Like a lot of people going in there, how they were back in the day would probably get lost pretty easily. I know people are still getting lost in there. My friend's a volunteer firefighter, and he says he's got to rescue someone out of there every month or so. But
yeah, and as well, like even the people that like Brian Buckles south of town helped put together that the Dagmar, you know, the infrastructure. Because Dagmar was usually in the past, it was kind of isolated that you had to pay and then ride there. It wasn't attached to Walker and Durham Forest. So now that you have all of them attached together, it's just like it's kind of a mecca for mountain biking, really.
Yeah, 100%, and right in Southern Ontario. You'd think talk about the best bike riding in North America, you would think West Coast, you know what I mean? But
exactly.
I would say Uxbridge has probably some of the best trails you could ride, and
I
think we take it for granted. Yeah, you could ride for days and never hit the same trail.
And our mayor, Dave Barton. So a funny story. I ended up doing video with him the other day, and John, who's the CEO of the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, came out, as well as David Pacini, I believe his name. He's the environment minister.
Okay.
On you know, the Ontario cabinet, and they came out for a ride with Dave Barton to talk about incorporating in more trails and more land.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I ended up videoing them and chatting with them and everything else. So it's so great that as well we have a mayor in this town who's actually a mountain biker and who enjoys the trails and who understands, you know, he's also like a longtime resident. And he's a close friend of mine. But he also
Dave's
understands how important this mountain biking is to the whole region. And we're tying everything in, you know, like even your the Slabtown cidery is like totally tied in right now to
they've got
mountain biking and everything else, and how it's really everything's starting to gel, right?
It's kind of turning into like a resort town for mountain biking. And
road cycling too.
Yeah, road cycling too, for sure. You got people going. You see about 40 bikers in their spandex at Anina's every Sunday, right? And it's great that we have a mayor like Dave. I know he's done a lot to bring in that pump park, and they're continuing to do things over there. And there's that new athletic pad and stuff. And it's we're very lucky that we grew up in that town. It's becoming quite the place.
More so for you than it was for me initially.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember. I was like,
you had to build it.
Well, like I was here in the, you know, like when I was like 14, it was like 1984, 86. Right. You know, so that's when mountain biking started. So I don't even know. Were you born in 86?
No, I'm a 94. So,
jeez.
So those trails have been there for years. When I came around, and we grew up, we were riding there with my dad, and you know, that's the thing is when you start riding them, you don't really know the whole story of how they got there, right? You're just riding them thinking they've been there forever, right? And then I guess I met you and Sean. I met Sean through playing hockey with him and my dad, and then through the 24 hours, then you find out that those guys built the trails and throwing the 24-hour event and whatnot. So it's cool. It's small town, small world kind of thing. But what a place to grow up for a kid that loves sports. So
awesome.
Back to the trail building. I know, so the DMBA, when they build them, they have to follow they try to follow regulations at the IMBA that they follow. So they have
Yeah,
to
I
build
believe
them.
so.
They have to build them a little different than how you guys used to build them back in the day, right? Like you guys used to make them
Oh
a
yeah.
bit steeper and
Can I pull out for a second?
no problem.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
back in like 30 seconds.
No worries.
Okay. This is a better view, anyways. Now.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking about the trail building guidelines, I guess, set out by the IMBA. So they have to follow like a certain grade, I guess. So you and Sean tended built some pretty gnarly trails that were kind of like straight up and down, and I guess now
Rudy and nasty and
yeah, which I like, but you don't quite see that as much getting built these days, right? Because of I guess, is it for erosion and also safety factor?
Well, more for erosion and like long term.
Yeah, okay.
Keeping those trails working. And actually, I think they've done, like, if you take a look at like what they've done at Dagmar and stuff, they've done a tremendous job. Really,
Dagmar's incredible.
I think I actually kind of feel like the Dagmar's maybe my favorite now out of Walker and Dagmar. If I had to choose one, I might choose Dagmar. I don't know about you.
Oh, I 100%. I like to ride more technical stuff, and that's where you find it, is at Dagmar.
Yeah, with the logs and the rocks and the
what's that new trail they built called?
It's called sorry, I don't want to say the wrong name.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Skin and Bones.
Skin and Bones. That trail is amazing. So I come from a motocross background. I rode motocross for like 10 years, and
nice.
I stopped for a few. Now I'm riding again. But that's the only trail that really gives me that adrenaline rush that I get from motocross. Like it really feels like you're, it's fast and technical, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's super awesome, actually. And then I like some of the other rock trails over there at Dagmar, and I like how they incorporated their logs. We have some of the original trails like Stubby Extreme. That was one of it really uses the undulations of the land, like down and up, but it's just fun. And also, I'm like 49 years old, so I don't want to like kill myself on a mountain trail these days. Like I've got I like things that have flow and fun, and that I'm not going to get wrecked on.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I liked about, that's what I like about those particular trails. You get enough adrenaline, but you're not going to,
Yeah, they've got option lines and
Although I think a few people have wrecked themselves on those trails.
Like I said, my friend, he for a span there, he was in there every week in the summer, and guys, in that Skin and Bones trail, I guess, going off a drop that then maybe it's it's hard to say what happened, but that's the thing.
Is he okay?
I think they're okay. I don't think anyone had any major I think like broken leg, stuff like that. Nothing super serious, but I guess that can go into the next topic about injuries in mountain biking, and that's kind of what I like to cover about safety aspects and whatnot. Have you had any experiences with injury and anything like that with biking, or
personally?
Yeah, personally.
Like besides like honestly, knock on wood, I was telling somebody the other day, my brother and I have never broken bones on mountain bikes.
No way.
And I think part of that is actually that we ride within our ability level, and we're not like crazy that way. Like we don't push the envelope. We're not big onto getting like lots of air and jumps and jumping and any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're a little more cross country kind of guys.
Yep.
And while we like to ride fast, we just don't crash out very often.
Do it in the right spots. Yeah.
Yeah. And I might have like a couple crashes a year, maybe like a couple spill outs, like one maybe decent crash a year. But even then, it might be like a couple stitches or something like that. But that being said, I have at our mountain bike events, we haven't had that many serious injuries. Like moderate serious, but I think everybody's recovered 100%. and because we try to make our trails more like attainable for everybody, and it becomes down to you what kind of risk you want to take, and and how you want to get through it. So I think a lot of it is the nice thing about mountain biking versus road biking is road biking, the accidents happen because a car makes a
Yeah.
mistake, or you make a mistake in front of a car. There isn't, the consequences are so high, but on mountain biking, it's basically you make a decision. It's all up to you. And I really don't have I don't, how would I say this? I think any mountain bike accident comes down to rider error.
Yep.
Just period.
Well, that's the thing. There's no really, it's a very controlled environment, right? You're in the trails.
Right.
There isn't cars on the road. That's why mountain biking is a very safe sport. I totally agree with you with that. You can ride within your means, and a great way is being taught and learning how to ride properly the first way, and that's where guys like Durham Shredders. Were you involved with Durham Shredders? I know Adam or Sean was, but you have a
Sean,
bit.
not me. Actually, I'm going to put my son Cole in Durham Shredders next year when it comes back.
Nice.
But I haven't been involved with it. I'd gladly help out with it, but I haven't been involved with it directly. So
yeah, I did a bit of
great
teaching.
Program.
It is great, and that's the kind of thing is kids learning how to use the brakes properly. First of all, proper technique, how to ride, and all those kinds of things, and that's how you avoid injury, right? So,
and progression, right? So,
yeah,
like starting them out and then not starting them out on a 6 foot dirt jump. Like we have some unbelievable dirt jumps around Uxbridge, though.
I saw those. Gosh. Yeah, and behind
those are insane.
They're crazy.
Crazy. You don't do those, do you, Tanner?
I used to. I tried to hit them again. I used to back in the day. I hit a couple of the small ones this year, and those days might be behind me as much as I want to do it. But it's those jumps are cool. Those ones in behind South Balsam there.
Oh yeah.
They've been there for probably longer than I think, but they were there when I was a kid, back when I was about 14. They were just kind of very small, and we went back with lawnmowers and weed whackers and kind of like, reestablished them for us. And then I go back last summer, and it's crazy what these kids have done back there. They built it up like 10 times bigger and 10 times better than it's ever been. And that just goes to show how much people love biking in this community.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, whatever keeps kids away from having to look at a screen all the time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we have to, as a society, get over. It's like the danger of keeping your kid in the basement in front of a screen is more so than, letting them go outside and play.
100%. 100%. I would say I spent all my time growing up outside on a bike, and it's how you can ride your bike all over the place, and there's a million things to do, and it's incredible. It's only getting better. So hopefully they keep that up. The only thing I worry about with those jumps is I don't know who, and I worry that they're going to get shut down. But
yeah, I don't know, but we'll keep it in the down low.
Yeah.
On the podcast, let's keep it in the down low.
Yeah, that's fine. They don't know exactly where it is, so maybe they could build. Were they going to build dirt jumps over by the pump park? I don't know if I heard. I think they talked about it, but now they got a baseball diamond going in there, and
they got a pretty good setup. My son loves the pump park, actually more than mountain biking. He's 8, and so we do the pump park together like once every couple of weeks or once a week.
It's a great tool for building skills on a bike, for sure.
Yeah, there's some good little rippers on that.
Oh yeah,
between those bowls and stuff, they do things like some 7-year-olds do things I wouldn't do.
It's crazy. I know. I even bought a BMX bike 2 summers ago because they were supposed to do the Red Bull pump track World Series there. They're supposed to do a qualifier there. So I bought a bike and I was going to do it. I was signed up for it, and then COVID hit. And so I don't know if they're going to do that again, but that's a lot of fun. And I think that's one of the first pump parks around, isn't it? Or like, I don't know much about the history of it, but
to be frank, I don't know a ton about the history. I know Steve Snodden was a big pusher to get that pump park built, and that was like almost his baby. And then Dave Barton as well, like really pushed that through to help make that happen. Mayor. So yeah,
perfect. So are you still doing the Epic 8 hours, or?
Actually, I gave that to Sean Ruppel, so it's still in the family. But
still in the
Sean's
family.
Sean's going to be producing that.
Okay.
I'm a little busy with my other event. So
yeah, did you want to talk a little bit about your Drive Festival and how that went?
So yeah, we had 17,000 attendees first year. I had probably at one time I had $100 million worth of exotic cars at the event. And we also, like, I had some cars worth north of $5 million, like showcase. It's like a different level. Like, what I like about it is that I can do it at a bigger level than, as far as like the bigger level financially than I can my mountain bike events.
Yeah.
So the mountain bike events I love, but this is like, larger scale as far as production and sales. I'm working with a business partner, National Event Management, on it. And this year we're aiming at 35,000 attendees. We have 3 test tracks. So an off-road test track for like Jeeps, Land Rovers, Nissans, Chevys. And then we have the performance test track where you can test drive exotic cars like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and those kinds of things. And then we also have like an electric car manufacturer test track where you can test drive manufacturer cars. And then the whole weekend we showcase collector cars up at Dream Car Speed Run. So we shoot them up a 2-kilometer hill climb, and we have it on video on big jumbotrons. And collectors bring out, like, we had an original Ford GT40, we had like a 67 Ferrari Dino SP, all the way up to like new Pagani's and new McLaren Elva, new McLaren Senna, and new GT2 RS, new Ferrari SF90. We had Ferrari Enzo there, LaFerrari 918, all those kinds of cars. And we showcase them going up the hill at speed. So it's really about an event that I've visited in England called the Festival of Speed, and trying to bring some of that sort of atmosphere around the automotive community back into Canada. So, and I've rented all of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park to do it with my business partner, and it's a very big undertaking, very challenging.
Sounds
but
like it.
Came off first year. So my other passion is cars besides bicycles. Funny enough,
right?
It's like one has 4 wheels, and the other has 2. I also instruct over at Mossport, probably at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I instruct there probably 15 times, 20 times a year.
Oh, wow.
In performance cars for the owners. So I sit in the passenger seat, either in their Ferrari or their Porsche or their Lamborghini or their McLaren, and make sure that they don't crash. So it's fun. And then I do a little bit of racing too.
Oh, right on. What kind of racing?
It's more of, it used to be called chump car racing. I do it at a very low level, and now it's called, I'm forgetting the name right now. But anyways, and then we do a little bit of CSCS racing with a Subaru. I have a Subaru 500 horsepower Subaru Impreza.
Okay.
And we have that. And then, I co-own that with the mechanic to keep the cost down. But with COVID, we kind of shelved it for a little bit. So.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll race it a little bit this year, but it's really like at a very low level, just for fun and getting.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I always talked about doing that with my dad. We used to go to the vintage days where they'd race the old Camaros and stuff, and we always talked about just getting a beater and fixing one up and doing it, but never got around to it yet. Still time.
Exactly.
How do you go about doing an event like that? Like how long did it take for you to plan it, and what's kind of like the outline you kind of go through to get that going? Because it seems like a ton of work to get something that big going.
Yeah, so I actually started about 4 years ago, and
Okay.
I got contacted by someone within the FAF group that said, "Are you interested in producing an automotive event?" And I said, "Okay." And then I started investing money and started a company. Actually, I went through a couple business partners. I traveled the world to all the largest automotive events, and then I built a business plan and said, "Okay, this is what we need as far as like revenue, how we're going to build it." And all that went out the window when COVID hit. But basically, I came up with the concept and said, okay, took the best components of this. How are we going to build it? And then brought it to my latest business, my new business partner, who I've been working with it on it since 2019, and they're national event management. So they're experienced in producing like the Outdoor Adventure Sport Show, Toronto Women's Show, franchise and business opportunity shows. So they're in the show business, and I'm in the live event business, starting with the Mud Hero series. So that was kind of more of what brought me, brought my skill set up, is running like an obstacle running series that was 6 events across Canada with a multi-million-dollar budget,
Wow.
and with like we had 15 or 20 contractors plus 5 or 6 full-time employees plus 2 transport trucks, a lot of moving pieces, and then even hundreds of people working for you on a weekend, and hiring all those people out, and then producing that event and having that event produced for, anywhere from 10 to 25,000 people on a weekend, and being able to figure out how to get those people through, how to make money from them, how to keep the business going. So that was really why Mud Hero was the stepping stone between, the mountain bike events, Mud Hero, and now it's the automotive. I'm out of Mud Hero. I'm not in the obstacle running business anymore, but now I'm doing the automotive events. So
Right on. Yeah. So that kind of gave you the wherewithal. Yeah. It sounds like a logistical nightmare to me. It's just,
it's a nightmare. But the flip side is, it's like you can only go so far running, mountain bike events. And I did fairly well with it until, 2010, 2011, I realized like I'm not really going to make the living that I want to make. Just running mountain bike events. So that's when I went into the obstacle running business. And then I got out of that in 2018. And I went, okay, I can't just run mountain bike events to make a living. So I got to do something else. And what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about cars. And I've always had sports cars and performance cars and race cars myself. So it's been a passion of mine. And it's a lot easier to build something when you have that passion.
Yeah, 100% having passion whenever you're doing. And I guess like, I'm sure it comes with its own set of stressors and challenges, but I think you love what you do, right? It seems pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, the 24-hour event is funny enough, the event that I love the most, but then Drive Festival as well is like something like another level of excitement. I love it. I didn't love producing both of them within 2 weeks in a pandemic this year.
That seemed tough. I know we were trying to get this episode going right there. I didn't know you were doing both, and I understand why now. I can't believe.
Yeah, I was like,
you did those back to back.
No. And but now that I got them under my belt, and now that they're going to be 2 months apart, I'm super excited for next year. And it's like a dream come true, like running something and mountain biking that I think it's Canada's largest mountain bike event, and then producing Canada's largest dynamic automotive festival, and me being able to produce both of those. It's like, oh, I love cars. Amazing. I love bicycles. And maybe this year wasn't like an indication, but maybe I'll even get paid for them or get some promo cars and some stuff and nice bicycles out of it and all these things. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every year with a new event like that, it'll get better and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. Like the 24-hour, you have it down to a T at this point, right? So
Yeah, except COVID.
Except for
Changed.
COVID. I know you never know
Oh.
with those kinds of things, right? Like who knows?
Yeah, even
And
like
who knows
trying to figure out how we're going to deal with all the credits from 2019 and 2020 and how we're dealing with those credits moving forward. That's been the biggest challenge for our
Right.
24-hour event, right? And it's like dealing with the people and the individuals when we had that shutdown initially. That's been the most challenging part and the least fun part of the 24-hour
Yeah,
race.
that's
But we're
tough.
bringing it back. We're bringing it back, and hey, without some adversity, then life would be too easy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, always brighter times ahead. I think next
Yep.
year's is going to be a really fun one. I'm really looking forward to it. That Drive Fest sounds really fun. I'm gonna try to make it out to the one next year. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was actually awesome. We got great feedback from it this year, and it was like, you have that dream where you build out the event and what the event you want it to be, and it was pretty close. It's like still, I've got dreams of building it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but it actually came out a lot like I had envisioned it first year. So that's amazing. And same thing happens when you produce like mountain bike events or the obstacle runs. You don't go into it thinking, oh, I got to make this amount of money. I don't anyways. I'm always thinking, this is the event I want to produce. This is the kind of quality that I want to put out there, and this is what I want people to experience and what I want to be proud of as an event.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And it speaks for itself when you go to the 24-hour event. It's great for all the participants. And I think when you have that philosophy, you get more people to show up and then you make the money either way, right? You make a great
100%.
event and it makes people come out for it.
Yeah. I'm not looking to, I don't really care about like short-term gains. I like building something that has long-term value and excitement and is like a key in that category, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to produce something that's like, oh, it was a pretty good event. I want to produce great events, and that's where I've always put my head towards.
That's great. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on. It was really great talking to you. Good luck with your events next year, and I look forward to seeing you at the 24-hour, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much, Tanner. Yeah, and appreciate coming on your podcast, and I like your shirt.
Thanks. Alrighty. Take care, Adam.
Take care.
I'm just gonna do a couple quick reads outs. Thank you to Endure Apparel, Atlas neck braces, and Slabtown cider. If you guys could head over to potsy.ca, you can check out all the old episodes for the last few podcasts there. And there's also some merch there. So if you guys wanted to grab some merch, could help support the podcast and support me, that'd be awesome. And keep your eyes tuned. And once again, thanks to Adam for coming on. And I'm Potsy. Remember to dress for the crash, not the ride.